Disney Genie and Genie Plus are the new features that Disney has given guests to help them maximize their day. In this video, we are going to take this system to a new level. We are going to teach you some tips and tricks that we have learned along the way so that you can graduate from just the basics to being a pro at this new system.
So if that interests you, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned.
Hey guys, it's Kayla and Mark Allen. We like to travel a lot, especially to Disney World. Follow along on our journey as we give you tips and tricks to help you create your own ever after. In the last video, we gave you the full rundown on all things Disney Genie, Genie Plus, and Lightning Lane. If you missed that video, you need to go watch it first.
But just to recap, what are these new systems? Disney Genie is the free system integrated in the My Disney Experience app to help you plan your day and offer an optimized itinerary.
Disney Genie Plus is the paid add-on feature that allows you to book a Lightning Lane or skip the pass line for 40 different attractions.
Individual attraction selection is for the top 2-tier rides in each park. It is an additional cost and is not included in Disney Genie Plus.
Now let's get into what we are actually talking about today, and that is strategy. We are going to show you some tips and tricks, including how to use this system park hopping, dive a little bit deeper into the 120-minute rule, and a few others.
We introduced the idea of the 120-minute rule in our previous video, but how can we use this to actually maximize your time in the parks?
Let's recap what the 120-minute rule is. You can book your next or second Lightning Lane if you scanned into your Lightning Lane, you've missed your 1-hour return time window, or 120 minutes has passed since you booked your last Lightning Lane, starting 2 hours after park open.
We gave an example in our previous video of what to do if you're unable to book your Lightning Lane until a later time, but what happens if you don't want to waste those early morning precious hours, which I recommend you don't do. I encourage you to try to get your first Lightning Lane for as close to the park open as possible. That may mean not choosing one of the most popular rides, but that's totally okay. Do try and prioritize rides that have notorious long waits, but if you are able to catch a better time, do it.
Let's put this in scenario form. Let's pretend that you are going to Magic Kingdom for the day, and you get up at 7 a.m. to try and book your first Lightning Lane for as early as humanly possible. A few rides that I would highly recommend would be Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan's Flight, or Big Thunder Mountain if you can snag it. The goal is to try and knock out as many Lightning Lane attractions as possible in the early morning hours. That way later in the day, when fewer Lightning Lanes are available, you will have already knocked out most of what you are wanting to accomplish that day.
Side note, if you are a resort guest and taking advantage of the early park entry, be sure to hit up some of those longer wait attractions before the rest of the crowd gets to the park.
After you have scanned into your second Lightning Lane checkpoint, immediately get onto the app and book your next one. Again, the goal is to try and book one as close to the current time as possible. Don't be afraid to refresh a few times before choosing your next Lightning Lane. As people change their plans throughout the day, you never know what new Lightning Lane options are going to pop up. You want to continue using this method throughout the morning, but you also want to make sure that you are taking advantage of those low wait time rides in between your Lightning Lanes to really maximize your time.
Okay, Kayla, this all sounds like a given, but what about the 120-minute rule?
So probably close to lunchtime, you're gonna start to notice that the Lightning Lane return times are getting later and later. This is a great opportunity to go ahead and activate that 120-minute rule. Go ahead and book your next Lightning Lane for at least 2 hours or more out. Then during that cool down time, you can go ahead and eat lunch, you can go see the cavalcades, you can go shopping, you can maybe even just ride a couple more lower wait time attractions. Once your 120 minutes are up, go ahead and book that next Lightning Lane. If it's for a close time, awesome. If not, that's totally okay. You might be able to do this 120-minute rule again.
Something to clarify here. Let's say that your ride that you booked far out was Haunted Mansion, then you used your 120-minute rule to book Big Thunder Mountain. In this scenario, Big Thunder has become your active Lightning Lane, so you can book your next Lightning Lane after you scan in at Big Thunder.
It's still a linear system, even if it may sound or look a little bit wonky. In really simple terms, let's say that Haunted Mansion is ride A, Big Thunder Mountain is ride B. You can book ride C after ride B. This is a really great trick to utilize towards the later part of the day when lightning lanes are becoming more scarce. I will say I don't think that I would recommend Genie Plus if you are planning on getting to the parks later in the day. You will definitely still be able to grab a ride or two, but you're not really going to be getting the biggest bang for your buck unless you start earlier in the day.
Now let's talk about park hopping. And how does this work? If you are just looking at the free Disney Genie, you'll still set up your preferences in the My Day tab just like normal. Here you'll scroll all the way to the bottom and choose Plan My Next Park. From there, you will be able to select the park or parks you plan on hopping to and what time. Then it will ask you your preferences on rides just like it did for your very first park. You will then see your itinerary update to reflect these changes, and then when it's time to head to your next park, the Disney Genie will notify you when it's time to do so.
If you are trying to book your lightning lanes for the park that you plan on hopping to, you will simply go over to your tip board, and at the top you will see a button that says Change Park. From there you will select the park that you wish to hop to, and you will see a new list of selections that you'll be able to choose your lightning lane. From there you will be able to book your lightning lane and individual attraction selections just like normal. Something to keep in mind is that if you are planning on park hopping, the absolute earliest that you will be able to select your time is 2 p.m. since that is when park hopping hours begin. Something that is super important that I want to stress is that you can refresh the app over and over and over again in order to get the best times. However, make sure that you double check the time before you click confirm on your lightning lane selection, because in that little minute time that you went to go click it, it might have changed. If that happens, just go back and continue to refresh again. This just means that someone managed to click it just before you did.
Another thing to know is that it doesn't matter how many or how few people are in your party. All that really does is that it gives you the next available time, not necessarily based on the number. This is great news if you are traveling with a larger party, because that means you have the same opportunity to grab a lightning lane as everyone else.
Here's another big tip. You can overlap your lightning lane reservations with dining reservations or even other lightning lane passes.
Of course, be careful when doing this though, because you do run the risk of missing your window. And if this does happen, be sure to just cancel that lightning lane if you are going to miss it. That way you have the chance to book that lightning lane for later in the day after your dining reservation.
But the perk to this trick really is that you have lots more opportunity to book lightning lanes throughout the day. And keep checking back on the app because you never know what might pop up.
Let's talk about mobile order for a second. This system is still pretty new and is known to have some bugs. You might find along the way that it shows no available mobile order times for a quick service location, but don't panic. Go into the specific restaurants page directly, and from there you should see times pop up.
A pro tip to make sure that you get the times that you want to eat is to go ahead and place your mobile order early in the day. That way, whenever you're ready to eat, all you have to do is click I'm here, and then you don't even have to think about it. Busy meal times can fill up quickly. You may go onto the app and realize that the next available return window isn't for another hour or so. That's when this trick can really come in handy. Try getting your orders in when you're riding the bus or the monorail on your way to the park that morning, or even in line. That way you're not wasting precious park time trying to get everybody's order.
All right, and now a few more tips to decide if this system is right for your next Disney vacation. As mentioned earlier, it is best to start using this system early in the day to make the best bang for your buck. And if you're going during a slower time of the year, you will probably have an easier time booking lightning lane attractions. But if you are going to the parks during a busy time of the year, you might have a harder time booking lightning lanes later in the day. You can still get a lot done early in the morning, and I really encourage you to take advantage of those early morning hours, especially on a busy day, but you have to make sure you plan ahead.
You can also purchase Genie Plus and individual attraction selections for just part of your group. This is great news if you have young kiddos or someone in your party who may be just isn't into the rides. Let's say mom and the baby aren't into the coasters, but dad and bigger brother really want to make the most of their time. You can purchase Genie Plus or individual attraction selections just for dad and big brother. That way they can take advantage of the shorter lines, and mom and baby are able to not wait quite so long for them to ride the rides either. However, if your kiddos aren't really tall enough to ride most of the rides, then I probably wouldn't recommend purchasing Genie Plus. I don't think that you'll get a good use out of your money, and instead you can do something called the rider swap. You will still be able to ride those big attractions, but instead of waiting in line twice so that each parent can ride, you only have to wait in line once. So you're still saving some time. Plus, there aren't nearly as many attractions that you're trying to get done in one day since your kiddos can't ride most of them anyways. So the nice thing is you will still have plenty of time to get everything you need to, even without Genie Plus.
And the last thing I want to talk about is individual attraction selections. To be honest, most of these attractions are probably not going to be worth it, but we're going to break down what attractions are a part of this new category and also give some recommendations on what rides might be worth it.
The two rides in Magic Kingdom are going to be Space Mountain and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. For Space Mountain, I do not recommend buying this one. The wait times for this ride are generally either low or pretty manageable. And if it does seem to have a long line, just keep checking back throughout the day because the line will probably go down. I would only recommend getting the individual attraction selection for this ride if this is a high must do and you're there on a extremely busy day. For Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, if you are a resort guest and you're able to take advantage of getting into the parks 30 minutes early, I would just encourage you to go ahead and try and rope drop that ride. That way you are able to take advantage of a shorter wait time and you don't have to pay extra for it. However, if you are not a resort guest and you are having to enter the park at normal park hours, it might be a good option for you as this ride does tend to be fairly long. If you are okay with waiting in line, this ride does have a really awesome queue that is pretty interactive, so even if you are waiting for a while, it's still pretty entertaining.
For Epcot, the two rides are Frozen Ever After and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. For Frozen Ever After, this one again does really depend on you and the situation. The lines for this ride are consistently pretty long, but if you are able to rope drop it first thing in the morning, you can save yourself some money. Another great time to ride is right before park close for a little wait. For Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, this is the only attraction right now that I would recommend getting an individual attraction selection for. Currently, there are only two ways to ride this ride, either with a virtual queue or an individual attraction selection. Getting a virtual queue is of course the free way to do that, but it can still be very stressful. You have to be on the app right at 7 a.m. and pray that you can get one. And even with that virtual queue, you'll still be waiting 30 to 45 minutes depending on crowds just to ride this ride. Of course, the individual attraction selection isn't free, but it does take the stress out of it and guarantees that you get to ride this attraction. Unless it goes down all day, but that's a whole nother topic.
The two attractions that are a individual attraction selection option for Hollywood Studios are Rise of the Resistance and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Rise of the Resistance is kind of a toss-up. I have seen wait times for this attraction be as low as 30 minutes, but also more than 2 hours. It's really just kind of luck of the draw depending on what the crowds are like that day and even what time of day you're looking to ride it. However, I will say this ride is 100% worth riding at least once. Now, whether that means you're willing to wait in line or purchase the individual attraction selection, that is totally up to you, but I do encourage you to try and at least fit this into your schedule at least once on your trip. If this attraction does go down during your return window, don't worry, they will give you kind of like a freebie pass to be able to come back later in the day whenever the ride is up again. However, I will say if you have booked a return time for later in the evening, you do risk kind of losing out if the ride does break down for the rest of the evening. So that is a risk that you are gonna have to take. So I encourage you to maybe try booking one for earlier in the day, if at all possible. For Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, this is of course again totally up to you. Personally, I haven't really seen dramatic wait times for this ride, and it's a really easy ride to rope drop first thing in the morning. So personally, Personally, that is what I would recommend doing, is rope dropping early in the morning and saving yourself some money. But again, if this is a really, really, really high must-ride attraction for you and you're there during a really busy time, it might be a good option to purchase that individual attraction selection.
For Animal Kingdom, the 2 individual attraction selection options are Flight of Passage and Expedition Everest. When it comes to Flight of Passage, this ride does have a big pro, but also a big con when it comes to purchasing an individual attraction selection. The wait times for Flight of Passage do tend to get really long, but not nearly as long as what they used to be. This park also has the fewest attractions, so it's usually pretty easy to knock everything out in one day, even without using the lightning lane. With an individual attraction selection, of course you would get to skip the line, but you would also be missing out on one of the most beautiful and intricate queues of any attraction at Walt Disney World, and you wouldn't get to do that if you use the lightning lane. When it comes to Expedition Everest, don't buy this. It typically has a really low, if any, wait, and there's also a single rider line if you're hoping for a shorter wait. Your party can all still stand together in the actual queue, but just know going into this that you'll probably be split up when it comes to actually boarding the ride. Again, I would only recommend buying an individual attraction selection if it's a 100% must-do and it's a really busy day.
Overall, you honestly really don't need to purchase the individual attraction selections. You definitely can if you really want to skip those lines, but really you can still get everything done without it. I would really only recommend doing it if these attractions are 100% hardcore must-dos for you and your family.
Keep in mind that you can still only do 2 of these per person per day. And if you do plan on park hopping, you can mix match different parks. But again, you can only do 2 per day and once per ride per day.
I know that was a ton of information, so hit us up in the comments below with any of your questions and we will definitely try to answer those. If you are hoping for a little bit more of a one-on-one conversation, consider booking your next Disney trip with me and I would be happy to help. I'm a travel planner with Goofy Getaways, and with that, that means I can help you plan every single little detail of your magical vacation completely free. If you want more information on how to book with me, there will be information in the description box below. If this video was helpful to you, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and share it with your friends who might also find it helpful. Be sure to subscribe for more Disney tips, and that's all we have for you guys today. Now go create your ever after.
Does this shirt look tight?
Quit eating them donuts.
I don't understand what you're trying to say here.
Does that make sense?
No. That's so confusing. You have to ride Haunted Mansion first, right?
No.
What?
For the...
Check. Okay.
I wasn't paying that close attention to my grammar. Nope. No, wrong, incorrect.
The widest swap.
Shut up.
Gosh darn it. Does it really have the fewest attractions?
Yeah.
This could be a great area of opportunity. that train was gone.
I think that one was longer than the last one.
I think it was too.
Because you didn't understand that whole thing in the middle. We had to stop.
My brain hurts.
No,
my back hurts.
You just haven't watched all the videos that I've watched.
Disney, you put me in physical pain.